Welcome. Man, it's Tuesday morning. I was going to do this last night, but you know how it goes. On Monday Night Football, get into the game, and what better way to do this than a Tuesday morning on the Game 1 preview for the Philadelphia Phillies in the National League playoffs, man. It's just so exciting. This is the Final Judgment. I'm your host, Tony Jigsaw Cutillo. You know where to follow, at Judge Jigsaw. Make sure you're following the Final Judgment on YouTube. Make sure you're following at Judge Jigsaw on Instagram, powered by Heat Ratio Sports, powered by Win Daily Sports, and most importantly, sponsored by SEObrand.com, the place where all analytics begin. We'll get more onto that later, but we're here right now, and we're about, 6 hours away, 5 hours away from the first pitch, 107. Philadelphia Phillies against Atlanta Braves. Obviously, we're going to talk lots of Phillies on this show, preview this series and beyond. Rob Thompson gets a 2-year extension, rightfully so. Finally gets that interim tag removed. We'll talk about that. I got a little video to play for you. I think you'll like it. Just show you what kind of guy that Rob Thompson is, that we all love and the players love. The Eagles, listen, they remain perfect. They're 5-0. Big matchup coming up against the Dallas Cowboys. Got to clean some stuff up. A lot of people were perturbed about the win, which I don't understand, because every win doesn't have to be pretty. But, you know, they will work on some things, and they'll get back to where they're at. And Nick Sirianni's just turned into a guy that we all love in this town. And then something happened on Sunday, or I should say Saturday, that, you know, memories are made. Okay. Sometimes, you know, you have things in sports where you just remember moments and memories. And what we're going to talk about is obviously the very controversial and very unique Bray Wyatt character returning for WWE, and, you know, Triple H getting his stamp on everything pro wrestling nowadays. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all of that right here on the Final Judgment. I like to bring you guys something different, obviously. And then, let's talk about the soft quarterback hits as well. You saw, you know, Tom Brady, see what happened to Tua, Teddy Bridgewater last night against Derek Carr. A lot of interesting talk right there, you know, around protecting these quarterbacks. But I just want to hear, are we going a little too far? So we're going to talk about that all the time. But we're going to get right into these Phillies, man. We got to get right into these Phillies. Adam checking in. Adam, as always, what's up, Adam? Good morning. You know, I have the luxury of doing this in the morning. I wouldn't say the luxury, because I just went to another physical therapy session yesterday for 2 hours. And I'll tell you what, man, my leg, they were doing stuff to my leg that I didn't think I could do, even when I was healthy. Okay. Even when I was healthy, they were doing things to my leg I didn't even think I could do. And they were doing it yesterday. So actually had a full transparency. I had to shave my leg yesterday. Very interesting. So for all you ladies out there, I understand, you know, trying to get every little, you know, nook and cranny of your leg behind where the joint, you know, bends with your knee and the back of your ankle. And yeah, because they had to tape me all up. It's kind of like a soft tape cast, so to speak, but so it doesn't rip my hair out when I take it off. So, things are getting better. So that's why I'm here. And we have first pitch at 107. We got Ranger Suarez going up against the mound, against Max Fried. Listen, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but what the Philadelphia Phillies have shown us already is the resiliency. We talk about Jalen Hurts being resilient for the Philadelphia Eagles at the quarterback position. Well, we need to talk about the Phillies being resilient because they instantaneously, single-handedly, completely crushed every hope and dream of a pure baseball town in St. Louis, and they had them doing things that St. Louis Cardinal fans don't normally do, and that's walk out of stadiums early, give up on their team, give up on their game. Listen, two legendary performers out there, Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina, two guys that listen, I have the utmost respect for. I am a baseball lifer. I love the nostalgic part of the game. I love it being America's pastime. I love it. But there comes a point in time where, it's your team against them and you have to root for the right person. But I will be honest, it was nice. I was glad. I was glad it didn't do anything, but it was nice to see Albert Pujols go out on a hit. It was nice to see Yadier Molina go out on a hit, even though, listen, it didn't affect us, which is great. It's that for me, best case scenario. I watched two guys that I've watched for the last 15 years. The last 15 years and to watch what they were able to do in the game of baseball, from a power and this is both unique. Albert Pujols from an average and a power standpoint, a guy that was going to hit 300 and 315 and still hit 40 home runs and knock in 130. It's unheard of, right? It's unheard of. Albert Pujols, doing what he did at age 42 is just absolutely ridiculous. Just shows how special of a player he is. Yadier Molina, listen, 20-year veteran. I mean, this guy just what he was able to bring to the game of baseball from a catching standpoint. I'm sure if you grabbed the mic and you gave it to JT Realmuto, who's 32, 33 years old, and you asked about Yadier Molina, he was absolutely going to tell you, one of those guys he's emulated his game after. Yadier Molina, just, I don't think he gets enough credit because he's not a flashy guy. He was never a flashy guy. Was never in the media kind of guy. Just went about his business the right way and just was that steady force behind the plate. So shot off against him. Loved Yadier Molina as a player. Loved watching him control a game and call a baseball game behind the mound. I think that's one thing that gets lost, in the excitement of baseball. I say that all the time. Everyone wants to see home runs, everyone wants to see hits, but when you dive deep into specific positions, specifically the pitcher and the catcher. So, when you talk about the pitcher, and you'll hear me bring up names like Greg Maddux before, and Pedro Martinez and Oral Hershiser, pitchers that they pitched the black, man. They went to the black part of that home plate, and that's where they lived by. And it was the level of difficulty, okay, and how intricate their pitches need to be for them to be successful. It's on another level. And if you would watch, if you go back to those late 80s, early 90s, and you watch these guys pitch and you watch, it's a masterpiece. It really is. It's like a Mona Lisa painting happening right there on the mound. And the other part of that is the catcher, being able to frame pitches, being able to call games, being able to instruct the defense when to go out for mound visits, when to calm the pitcher down. So many different things that go into the part. Two of the most important parts, if not the most important part, of a Major League Baseball game. So, shout out to Yadier Molina and Adam checking in. Yeah, how about those Mets? Unbelievable collapse. Unbelievable collapse, historic collapse. Obviously, listen, and we could sit here and talk about Keith Hernandez, and we talk about Buck Showalter, and Pete Alonso. I hope you're still getting your stretches in for that home run derby because that's the only kind of contest you're ever going to be in the playoffs for. So, no disrespect, but I'm not a Pete Alonso guy. But couldn't happen to a better team. If you're in Philadelphia, couldn't happen to a better team, right? Those Mets, listen, they are easily one of the most hated teams, in my opinion, just from the personalities they have. I still remember Jeff McNeil running around the base pass against us when, winning the game, getting the clutch hits. And I just wanted to go out there and take his legs out with a baseball bat, right? That's the way you feel about it. That's the way you feel as a Philadelphia lifer, right? That's the way you feel. But listen, getting back to this series, you know, The way you win in the playoffs is you pitch well and you have timely hitting and you have a bullpen you can trust, right? You go back to 2008 when the Phillies won the World Series and they had pitching, they had timely hitting, right? Remember a lot of those games, timely hittings, whether it be Shane Victorino, whether it be Jimmy Rollins, okay, whether it be a la Matt Stairs, timely hitting, right? Situational gaming, okay, running the base pass the right way, fundamental baseball, which you're seeing with Rob Thompson. You're watching it, and I think that the reason why he's such an important part and the most important part of this postseason success right now, as it stands. I know there are only 2 games into it, but you're watching what he did in those Cardinals series. Now, I completely disagree. Okay, with the decision in Game 1 to take Wheeler out. I don't care if we got past it. I understand. Doesn't matter. I still tell you, in my opinion, that's a bad decision. I think Rob Thompson may say, hindsight being 2020, maybe he doesn't take him out there, right? But the one thing I will tell you about Topper is, he's got these things in his mind already going into the game, and you know, but I think that he also has that feel about him that even though it's game script, if he goes in there thinking a little something different, depending on the way the game's played out, I think he's going to roll with it, and I think that's what I like. And only that one decision I would have went back on. Listen, I would have went batter to batter if the velocity was down, and I understand there's a lot of things into this where he was coming off injury, coming off the list. He only pitched 70 pitches, 75 pitches, and could he go? Listen, you ride the wave until you can't ride it anymore. You saw that in St. Louis where they did the same thing. Game 1, Quintana was rolling. I can't believe that the Philadelphia Phillies were getting beat by Jose Quintana, but they were. He was rolling at 74, 75 pitches, and they took him out. Maybe not the best decision, and it worked out in our favor. So there's a lot of these things that you have to look at from a managerial standpoint that are so important when it comes to the postseason, right? The defensive replacements at the right time. The defensive replacements at the right time. I'll tell you what, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Sosa comes in as a defensive replacement at third base for Alec Boehm. Alec Boehm has been the defensive MVP in this first series. The plays that he made against St. Louis, man, I'll tell you, the hot corner, there's a reason why it's a hot corner, and he just missed. He just missed missing that third play. Pujols hit that shot down a line. He just missed it. He almost had it again, right? But I will tell you, go back. I don't think people realize how far of a run Sosa had to make for that last out in game 2. The shift was on. He was almost behind second base. I'm telling you right now, I don't think Bomer makes that play. I don't think he's quick enough to get over there to make that play. Sosa took off like he was running a 4.40. He did, and he got over there and made the play and closed the game out. And that's what I mean by hitting the right buttons, the defensive plays. Okay. And not just to mention Rob Thompson talking about hitting the right buttons, but Zach Eflin. Listen, I don't know. Like, it's so curious to me. And this is what I think that makes baseball so great and guys like Rob Thompson so great. For the entire half of the year, Zach Eflin's been fighting this knee, right? Fighting to get back on the mound. And the entire time, Rob Thompson's mind's brewing about, this dude's stuff is so good, but how do we get him on the mound if I can't have him start? And he's already thinking about postseason play. He's already thinking about, if we're going to make it, and he's confident they are, who can we have in the back end of that bullpen? Because it's your most trusted piece in the playoffs because you have to throw so many darts, to get to that next game and realize who's going to be available the next, the following game. And that's what made the Phillies of '08 so great when guys like, even guys, situational guys like a Scott Air were able to come in, veteran guy, right? Which will, probably, you look at that and you say, okay, you have a guy like Robertson, is he going to be that situational guy, right? So you have a lot of darts that you need to throw, and it's very important in a bullpen. And I just think it's phenomenal, and it's pretty unique that you had Tauber sitting there watching Zach Eflin and saying this guy's stuff is too good not to have him on the mound. and I trust him to close games. And he gave him, again, this goes back to that final game where the clinching game, that clinched the playoffs, where he entrusted that to Zach Eflin. That was an audition in the sense of, for himself. That was the ultimate confidence grabber. Here you go, Zach. This is your ball. Close it out. Get ready to know what this feels like in the postseason. And it was brilliant. I said it then, I'll say it again. It was a brilliant move by a 30-year baseball manager, whether it be bench coach, whether it be interim manager, and now manager in Rob Thomson. It really was. He's hitting all the right buttons, and sometimes that's what happens, right? Charlie Manuel hit all the right buttons in 08. It's what happens. When he brought guys in like an Eric Bruntley, it worked, right? It worked. So, that's what gives me all this hope about moving on, game by game. A very, very tough series, opening up 2 games in Atlanta. Obviously, we've played Atlanta well. We haven't gotten smoked. The one team that smoked us all year, the Mets, aren't there anymore. So it's a brand new world for us. Brand new world. So again, 107 first pitch. Ranger Suarez on the mound. Listen, Ranger, this is going to be the interesting call by Rob Thomson. Because Ranger has shown he gives you those 4 or 5 stellar innings, and it seems like that, that 5th or 6th is where he struggles and quite possibly, could unravel. So that's one of the most important things I think we need to look at. That's going to be the tipping point in this game. Topper's going to have to keep his finger on that pulse and see where it goes. And listen, we've Max Fried. It's been an average pitcher against us. So the bats are going to come along. I think this is a Kyle Schwarber game. Okay, game 1. I think it's a Kyle Schwarber game. I like Schwarbs a lot in this game. Usually when he presses the game or 2 before, he comes out on fire the following game. And there's a very short porch in right field, and Max Fried has been very susceptible to the long ball at specific times within this season, especially at home. So I really, really like that matchup for Schwarbs. But let's get into Rob Thomson real fast. I threw a couple things up here. I have a quick video, about 2 minutes. I just want you to listen. This is when Rob was 14-4. He was the interim manager. They were on a road trip, and he was interviewed by MLB Network. And I think this interview, honestly, in this quick 2-minute clip, just sums up who Rob Thomson is, for several different reasons. And I'm going to break that down in a minute. So this is Rob Thomson talking about the interim manager, talking about taking over for Joe Girardi. And remember, at this point, they were 14-4. And look at some of the stats that are up there when it comes to run differential and things of that nature. But he was 14-4 at this point. And, they asked him a couple questions. Again, it's only 2 minutes. So check this out. I think it's a pretty, pretty cool thing when we talk about Rob Thomson.
Rob, under your tutelage, the Phillies are 14-4. I know you have a tremendous amount of respect, as do I, for Joe Girardi, but something needed to change. What do you think has been the biggest reason for the success that you've had as the interim manager?
Well, I'm not sure if it's me. I do have a lot of respect for Joe, and he's world champion manager and a great friend of mine. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily me. What I think it is that these guys are playing the way we thought they'd play coming out of spring training. We just got off to a little bit of a slow start, but now they're playing the way we expected, and things are going well. We got great energy. We've gotten good production out of Schwarber and Hoskins, and looks like Castellanos starting to come, and JT's coming, and we get Hart back in the lineup today. We got good starting pitching, and I like our bullpen, and I think we're going to get better out there. But I think the biggest thing is we're just playing the way we thought we'd play coming out of spring.
Rob, you are a true baseball man. You have so much respect around the league. When I talk to current managers, when I talk to current and former players about you, they all say the same thing. It's about time. You had 28 years in the Yankees organization, and you're applauded now that you finally have an opportunity. Why should the Phillies take away the interim tag?
Oh, I don't. It's too early to talk about that. I think I
You're
really focus on.
You're 14-4. Come on, let's talk about it.
I don't want to. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, and I've always been that way. When I was younger, I thought about managing. As I got older and more experienced, I really figured out that you got to focus on what you need to do today, and because if you don't, there may be no tomorrow. So that's what I'm focused on, and I just want to do the best I can to get these players to play the best they can, and win some ball games and get into the playoffs. That's truly all I'm thinking about right now.
And there is Rob Thompson, man. Listen, I don't know, and I'm sorry for some reason. Don't know if the screen was black during that interview. But again, it was just a quick 2 minute clip. You could hear the audio from it. I think that's the most important piece of that. But listen, he is so confident about himself. Okay. He's so confident and he's so reserved. Like you're not going to get a ton out of Rob Thompson, right? You're only going to get so much and you hear him. You hear him. He's confident in his abilities. He pays homage to people. He's well respected. Listen, he never gets ahead of himself. And I think that's the most important thing. Like, and here's the thing: the players love that. So check this out. This is pretty cool. And again, I got a link in here to Scott Lauber's his article on the Philly Inquirer about the Thompson deal. So make sure you check that out. It's in the comments, but this is a part of it. Says a few Phillies players were eating lunch Monday when Rob Thompson came over to ask how they were doing. No different than any other day in a season that has stretched into its 7th month. That was when the news alert popped up on rookie Bryson Stott's phone. Phillies remove interim tag from manager Thompson. He didn't get maybe 15 to 20 feet down the hall and Stott turns his phone around, and we all just ran to Thomper and gave him a hug. Alec Boehm said, guys are excited. Nobody more deserving. Listen, that is what it's all about right there. Like, that's his players love him. Absolutely love him. Adam says, I didn't know he was in the league that long, but I'm glad he got signed. Exactly. He has been a baseball lifer. He really has. And he's been through World Series with the Yankees. Like, he's been Girardi's guy. That's the ironic part about this. He's been Girardi's guy. So these players just love playing for him. And when you have a different guy that, a different type of energy, it's pretty interesting, when those type of things happen. And I love it. I love this storyline. I think it continues. And again, let me hear from you guys, man. I want to hear, how far do you think this team can go? And are there any negatives from this Rob Thompson 2-year extension, which I don't think there are at any. There's zero. I think this isn't Pete Mackanin, right? This is Rob Thompson, and this is his shot. Some people get their shot. He's getting at 59 years old. I mean, that's okay. Right? Everybody gets their shot at a different time. And, he's laid back and he's taking it all in. And he couldn't be a better fit for this team, to be honest with you. From veterans to young guys, he couldn't be a better fit. As always, you're watching this. This is the Final Judgment with Tony Jigsaw Cutillo. Make sure you give me a follow at Judge Jigsaw on Instagram, at Judge Jigsaw on Twitter. Make sure you're following the Final Judgment on YouTube as well, and anywhere you get your podcasts, because that's listen, I'm everywhere for you guys. Wherever you want to listen, wherever you want to hear, I'm all around, man. I'm all around. Adam says, if they get past the Braves, I think the Phillies win the World Series. I'll tell you, man, watching what happened with San Diego, right? Did anybody think that San Diego would just go in there and clean house? Did anybody think that, Toronto would just get smoked by the Guardians? I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is a year like no other, that nobody's really standing out to me like a dominant team. I know everybody wants to talk about the Dodgers, and I get it. They definitely have the best lineup in baseball. I've said that before, but pitching's what wins the World Series. Pitching's what wins championships. And I'm telling you, man, those two performances that you got from Wheeler and Nola in those first 2 games, everybody talked about DeGrom and Scherzer. Nobody gave any respect to Nola and Wheeler. And I'm telling you, man, they pitched. That was, what that was? And again, I'm not getting far ahead of myself. I know it's ironic that we're playing the Braves. That was a 1990s Braves rotation performance. That was a Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine type of performance. And I'm telling you right now, if we get Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine performances from Wheeler and Nola throughout, and we get a bullpen that we can trust, okay? Hey, I know it's not John Smoltz, but Zach Eflin at the end of this rotation or at the end of this bullpen with Sir Anthony looking the way he did, with Alvarado just pitch and smoke, okay, and with Robertson being that veteran presence come in when he needs to get the job done. I'm telling you, man, the sky's the limit for this team. I'm extremely excited, and I hope you guys are too. It is definitely going to be a fun ride. So speaking of ride, everybody likes to ride Jalen Hurts. Everybody likes to ride the Philadelphia Eagles. It wasn't a great win, or it was an ugly win. They're going to clean stuff out. They're going to get smoked. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Listen, man, every win in the NFL is a win. Doesn't always have to be pretty. Doesn't, the biggest part, I was just going to say point part at the same time, and I got all tongue twisted there, but the biggest point of emphasis about an ugly win is that you're learning from the ugly win and you don't win uglier the next time. Okay. What you do is you go back to the film room, you go back to the practice field, and you fix what you need to fix. And you make sure you right that ship so we don't talk about ugly wins anymore. Right. But there's always going to be parts of the season where you just can't steamroll over everybody. Right. And shout out to Kyler Murray for being an absolute knucklehead by not knowing exactly what was going on. And again, I know everybody wants to talk, but when they gave him that contract and everybody was defending Kyler Murray, and I'm going to say this, I said it before and I'll say it again. Kyler Murray will never be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He just won't. Guys out there that are going to be good quarterbacks, that are going to have their moments, but are not going to have moments in the big games. And Kyler Murray is not a gamer. Sorry. He's just not. There's no disrespect to Kyler, but everybody has their moments. Listen, Jalen Hurts is a gamer. Jalen Hurts has that ability to make me feel comfortable in any situation, right? You have to look at that. The great ones do that. And yes, I feel he's on the road to being great. That's how good he is. And and the Philadelphia Eagles are going to ride this until they can't ride it anymore. Why not? There's a lot of things that happen in this game that people aren't talking about. Everybody's talking about, well, it was ugly win. Everybody's talking about, well, thankfully Kyler Murray messed up and the kicker missed a kick, but nobody's talking about the resiliency that we had to play through as a football team where we were losing players left and right across the offensive line. Nobody's talking about that. When we had times where Cam Jurgens had to come in and play, Jason Kelsey playing on a bad wheel, right? Nobody was talking about the offensive line just completely being decimated. Landon Dickerson going back. And again, bringing in more depth pieces to try to stop that pass rush that was getting to Jalen Hurts a lot for the Arizona Cardinals. Vance Joseph was dialing it up, man. He had a great game plan. I'm still not sure what happened with the defense, why we were playing so soft. Jonathan Gannon, I think, took a step back in that game, but there's sometimes in these games where, you're looking at it from different perspectives, and sometimes, you just can't say to yourself, oh, you played a terrible game or he called a terrible game. I think you really have to go back and look. And will he do things differently next time? Sure. But these are all learning experiences. I've said this before. If you can learn why you win, there's no better way to do it. Right. So you're learning why you win. It's a fantastic thing. And that's what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing right now. A.J. Brown has to get the ball more. There has to be a point of emphasis. And I think we lost sight of that in the second half. And that can't happen. Right. That can't happen. We saw Dallas Goedert step up. Yes. Which was a good thing. Dallas Goedert needs to be that guy. Devontae Smith had some pretty good catches, some pretty big and important catches to move the chains. I think that was important. What I really liked to watch out of Jalen Hurts was him feeling that pressure, being able to step up and move when he needs to move. Listen, couple of them throws, man, for all you people that say there's no orange shot there for Jalen Hurts to throw in your off foot, all hips and all arms, and not even being able to step through a ball, going cross body across the field on a couple of them that he did. I think they were pretty damn good. So all you people that say he's got no orange shot, I think you need to look in the mirror a little bit and figure out what you're looking at. We're talking about Jalen Hurts here. We're not watching film of guys like Jay Schrader. So I think you really need to get your focus back and realize what we're watching. Sky's the limit for this team. Sky's the limit for this team. You know, the boys are coming in here, and I know a lot of people are saying, "Well, what a huge win against the Rams," and it was, and I get it. Um, this is going to be on the defensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be on the front seven, the three linebackers, and the defensive line. This is who this game's going to be on, and we're going to talk about this more as the week goes on. Heat Ratio Live. I'm sure we'll break this down as well. But we're going to have to talk about the holes that were being generated through our defensive line and getting to that next level when it comes to our linebackers. This is going to be, in my opinion, this could be a game where the linebackers are going to be key. They've been great in coverage, but I need them to stop the run this week. I need TJ Edwards needs to have a Bobby Wagner type performance in this game. You're going to get a 1-2 punch with Zeke and Pollard. In that line, as much as it's been hurt on the left tackle position, they still have a guy like Zach Martin that's just going to continue to break open holes. So they do have a lot of talent across that offensive line that I think we're going to have to look at. They're getting healthy at the receiver position. Michael Gallup is going to be his third game back. More snaps for Michael Gallup. So, I think we can rattle Cooper Rush. Obviously, the pass rush is going to be key, but it's going to be those linebackers in this game. The linebackers are going to be key. Not only the front seven, but those three linebackers are going to be key. Specifically, I think TJ Edwards. Like I said, this is a TJ Edwards kind of game. I need TJ Edwards to be a tackling monster in this game, and I think it's possible. I like TJ Edwards a lot. So again, Jalen Hurts. Sky's the limit for this kid. He comes in every single week and just continues to get the job done, no matter how much adversity he faces. I love the cockiness of Nick Sirianni on the sideline. I think that, he gets it, and, he really gets it, just like Thompson gets it. But, when you're a manager, because listen, I'm not only getting the Sixers, but I don't think Doc Rivers doesn't get it. Doc doesn't get it. He'll never get it. Sirianni gets it. And I think that's important. When you're a head coach in this town and you get it, that's when you know. So, listen, we'll talk more about this as the week goes on. Obviously, Thursdays is Football Friday, where that we really talk about that. I'm working on a guest for that show as well, getting an interview there. And, we'll get that going. Obviously, we'll have some fantasy picks for that show brought to you by Win Daily Sports. But now we're going to go to the third judgment on this, and we're going to talk a little wrestling. We got to talk about little Bray Wyatt. And Adam checking it says Cooper Rush is better than Dak. Nah, Cooper Rush isn't better than Dak, but right now, sometimes, Adam, what happens is, if you remember, back in the Donovan McNabb era, when guys would go down, and there was a guy like AJ Feely would step in, and that we got a second round pick from the Miami Dolphins. Oh, excuse me. I had to get that out. But when AJ Feely, came in, and he, the whole thing was, oh, wow, this could be the starting quarterback. And no, there's limitations, but sometimes you just fall in the system that fits. And right now the system fits Cooper Rush. Obviously a healthy Dak Prescott is light years above a healthy Cooper Rush, but it's all going to depend about health. And Cooper Rush right now is a game manager, and he's managing the game properly for the Dallas Cowboys. The biggest thing is he's playing mistake-free football. When you can play mistake-free football, that's a big deal. Don't turn the ball over. Make your reads. Know when to get out of pressure. Know when to get rid of the ball. Don't take bad sacks. And that's what Cooper Rush is doing. And I think that because of that, that's why the Cowboys have been so successful. No reason that there's always analytics in your approach as a quarterback. And I think he is powering through his analytics, and he's really becoming a great game manager. And speaking of analytics, there's no better place than SEObrand.com to make sure your analytics for you, for your website, for your promotion, for your brand are working at top-notch speed. Everybody has a website, but there's a Facebook page, they have an Instagram page, they have a YouTube page, and everybody wants to know, where's my traffic coming from, or how do I create more traffic, right? Because let's face it, you're talking to an audience that you don't already know. They're getting to know you. So that's what's great about SEObrand.com. You have your own brand manager taking these cold leads and turning them into sales for you. And what we mean by sales is analytical sales, or sponsors for your website, traffic for your website. Doesn't matter if you're a big business or a small business. That they help everybody, because listen, digital marketing and digital analytics are the name of the game. And if you're not getting what you need, these guys are going to help you on how to get what you need. And that's the most important part. We talk about results all the day. These guys get your results. I've been doing it for 15 plus years. We talked about Rob Thompson being in the league 29 years, finally getting an opportunity. Well, SEO brand, these guys have been doing it for 15 plus years. If you're sticking around double-digit years in digital marketing, that means you're doing something right. They represent brands big and small, but most importantly, they can help you out by a quick consultation. Make sure you follow them, SEObrand.com. Check them out. Sign up for a consultation, take a phone call, see what you can do to make your site and your presence from an SEO perspective better. And make sure you tell them Tony Jigsaw Cutillo sent you. So let's talk about the infamous return of Bray Wyatt. Again, I am a huge wrestling guy. You know that. And I like to talk. That's why I create this show, because I could talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about. Right. So first we talk about, obviously we're previewing the Phillies, and we talk about Rob Thompson, and we switch to Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, the defense of the Philadelphia Eagles, talking about getting ready for Dallas week. Right. And now we're going to go into a little wrestling talk here, and Extreme Rules for WWE. Listen, let's just say that finally the Triple H has put a stamp on everything right now. Everything you're seeing right now is 100% Triple H. Paul has got everything going, and Paul is a monster. Listen, there's a reason why they call him the cerebral assassin. He is a monster, and he breathes and preys on competition. And he wants to be the best in the world. No pun intended from CM Punk, but he wants to be the best in the world. And he's going to make this product the best in the world, right? It was a very lackluster production for a very long time. And Triple H knew this, but he knew his spot, right? He went through some health things, and he always stood behind the back, and he was always the guy. Listen, we just talked about Rob Thompson being such a respected guy within the business. Triple H is one of the most respected guys in the business from all different promotions. There's not many people that say bad things about Triple H. And what he's been able to do right now is finally breathe some much needed energy and life into a product that was very stale and stagnant. And it all, in my opinion, it all came full circle at Extreme Rules on Saturday night in the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia. The Bray Wyatt return was something that you may never, ever see again. And I say that because wrestling is a production. It is an absolute production on many different levels. You don't just go out there and grab a microphone and hit a promo. You don't just go out there and get in a ring and have a match, right? There's a production behind the scenes that is done to make this not only watchable, but make this over. And an over segment, an over promo, an over match is what the wrestling business is all about. And what you saw Saturday night was one of the most over moments I've ever seen in a wrestling ring. And we're going to bring up past. I want to hear again, for all my wrestling fans out there, what are your most memorable I just have rememberable. What are your most memorable returns when it comes to wrestling or debuts for that matter? Because there's some of them as well. I have a few written down that we'll talk about in a minute, but the lead up was the production, right? This is what I'm saying. The lead up, even Triple H comes out on SmackDown on Friday night and he has a QR code and he gives you that Bray Wyatt reference. And for you people that watch wrestling, you understood right there. Okay, when is he coming? When is he coming? And you know what's funny about the Bray Wyatt thing is, it wasn't just about Bray Wyatt. It was about the entire production throughout the entire arena. It was about the cell phone lights. It was about the darkness. It was about the rabbit, right? About the bunny, the white rabbit. So funny. It was about the QR code, but it was about, the symbolic, visions of his faction forming within the arena, right? Everything that they did was spot on. And I don't think you'll ever be able to recreate something like that again. Bray Wyatt is back. I feel like this is going to be the character where he goes back and forth. He's going to be old school Bray Wyatt. He's going to be the Fiend. He's going to be old school Bray Wyatt. He's going to be the Fiend. But no matter what, I think that, you know, he is so over in the WWE and so needed for what they're trying to do. Again, I keep saying sky's the limit, but they've become they went from unwatchable to watchable in about a 3-week span. And this all revolves around Triple H. Triple H is putting his stamp on the game, no pun intended. And it has been, fantastic. I looked at, past entrances and what I mean by debuts or returns. And a lot of this, you point to one of my most memorable is John Cena in 2008, coming back from the pectoral injury, in Madison Square Garden, being that number 30 guy in the Royal Rumble, and it just thought that was back when nobody thought people could come back from injury that fast. And that was at the pinnacle of John Cena. That was the pinnacle of the John Cena. This is before the John Cena sucks. This is when John Cena was the most over wrestler in the entire business. He had that Rock energy, man. He had that Dwayne Johnson energy, that Stone Cold energy. And when he came back, that place erupted. That was amazing to me. 1999, Y2J Chris Jericho debuts. Rock's in the ring, cutting a promo. We were watching these countdowns for weeks and weeks. Again, production. Weeks. Who was it? Who was it going to be? And break the walls down. Raw is Jericho. Just an unbelievable debut for the Ayatollah of rock and rolla, right? So, I mean, listen, the Lion Tamer himself, Chris Jericho, Lionheart Chris Jericho, unbelievable debut. At a time where you were talking about the Monday Night Wars, which made it even more symbolic. And then we go 2006, which I think could be one of the most, or 2016, I'm sorry, one of the most underrated debuts in all of professional wrestling, because it was a wrestler that you never thought was going to go through that forbidden door. A wrestler you never thought you would see, not only as a wrestler, but as the wrestler. So for a lot of you people that don't watch wrestling, Vince McMahon's MO for many years was, let's pry some talent from the other organizations. Now, but when we bring them into our organization, we kind of just throw them to the wolves, so to speak, and we let the character die. And, we're just happy that we have them and they don't have them anymore. And, they never really play into their character. They never allow them to be that guy. Right. It was some mental block from Vince McMahon thinking that, that's how he won the game over. And I think it was the complete wrong line of thinking. And it showed because a lot of those players just left again and they never even panned out. But in 2016, it all changed. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time that was never in the WWE, because I go world round, I watch independent organizations. I watch all the professional outfits. I even watch New Japan. And one of my favorite guys was always AJ Styles. I was on AJ Styles for a very long time. He was the heartbreak kid. He was the Shawn Michaels of every other wrestling organization. That's what AJ Styles was. He was the showstopper in every other organization he wrestled at. And they finally brought that showstopper to WWE in 2016 in a Royal Rumble appearance. Couldn't have had a better entrance with Roman Reigns sitting in the ring, and that music hit. Nobody knew what that music was, and then you saw the phenomenal one come across the screen, and you saw that moment even take over AJ Styles himself. It's the first time that he ever wrestled in an arena like that, even though he was worldwide, all over the world. It was the first time that he ever wrestled into an arena like that, that full, that many people behind. And you could see when he kind of went like this with his shoulders, right? He had those goosebumps, man. He was getting those goosebumps out. And this was a guy that they allowed to be the guy, and they did. And it's almost time for him to be the guy again. I have to admit, I'm waiting for him to be the guy again. But they gave him the title. He had a great run. He was great on the mic, whether it be heel, whether it be face. AJ Styles in 2016, that was a remarkable, remarkable debut. And that's what wrestling is bred upon. It's bred upon these reunions, like we just saw with the X reunion, which was phenomenal. Again, all because Triple H is behind it. And again, you take two very creative and respected minds when you talk about Triple H, who right now is running all things creative in WWE. And then you have Shawn Michaels, his best friend in the business, running all things NXT, with these people coming up through the ranks to WWE. I mean, you have the perfect system right now in place for WWE. So it's just going to get better. But I want to know from you guys. I want to know, who's your favorite debut. I know Adam checking in says CM Punk, big pop when he came back to AEW. Big pop. I would say Brian Danielson, actually had a very similar pop when he came back at the pay-per-view in AEW. I mean, I still watch these, like, The Rock, when The Rock returned and he was announced as the host of WrestleMania, huge, tremendous pop. Um, but I think the most important thing is it's the element of surprise and the production, right? We all know from following these websites and a lot of these tabloids that we already know these guys are coming back. Like right now, the Sasha Banks is coming back. We just when, right? We just need to know when. It's like, when did she come back? We knew Ronda Rousey was debuting. We needed to know when. Last night was surprised with Brock Lesnar coming back, and Brock coming back, and again, there was a guy who legitimately was not happy when Vince McMahon was gone. He looked at Vince as the ultimate role model for him in the wrestling business. And that took some talking with Triple H to be able to come back and perform. So it just shows the kind of power that Triple H has. Adam says, "What do you think of Dominic Mysterio going against his dad?" You know what, we've saw this play out in years past with family members, and makes for a good storyline. I honestly think that Judgment Day, again, what Triple H is doing is he's building the factions again. Factions in wrestling are always good. And I think it's going to be a segment for Thursday night. So get that in your head, everybody listening this week. Factions in wrestling. What was your favorite faction? We're not gonna put verdicts on that right now, but that's going to be one of our judges for Thursdays. Your favorite factions. And I think that's what's most important about the Dominic Mysterio storyline, is the faction of Judgment Day. Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, Finn Balor. You saw the good brothers come back. The click kind of reforming right there with AJ Styles, and let's not get it twisted. 4 guys in final. There's 4 guys right now in Judgment Day. 3 guys right now with AJ Styles and the Good Brothers. Don't be surprised if you see Edge join that click faction right there. And we're talking, obviously, it's right around the corner. Survivor Series. There's your Survivor Series match right there. You got Judgment Day against the Click. So I'm already setting it up. I'm already doing the fantasy booking right here. For WWE. But we're gonna get out of here, man. It's a great episode. Everybody checking in. I appreciate it. Listen, doing this early morning while I'm still recovering. Make sure you're following the Final Judgment on YouTube. Make sure you're following at Judge Jigsaw on Instagram, on Twitter. It's been great. More and more stuff planned for the show. More and more interviews coming up for the show. More and more topics coming up. Listen, it's not just these full episodes. Just not these full episodes. Make sure you get to these. They're little short clips on there. I have interviews, media appearances, all kinds of stuff. And look, we're before we get out of here, one of the friends from the show checking in late. Trevor coming in says just got back from Arizona last night. Was in Arizona for that game. And Trev, real fast for get out of here. Speak to that because I know a lot of guys that that I follow and that I social media wise are very friendly with. That E-Rock was posting some fantastic videos from Philly sports trips. I know the Fourth and John gang were out there. Barchert was out there with Vince Quinn. There's a lot of Twitter appearances out there, a lot of podcasters, a lot of streamers, a lot of media members. Trevor says 80% Eagles fans, 20% Cardinal fans. That's just such a total violation for any sports team where you allow a stadium to be taken over by the opposing team. It is a slap in your face. It can't happen. But I'm sure, you heard it, when Amendola missed that kick, it erupted out there. It always felt like you were at the link. So shout out to Eagles fans, as always, for just traveling at record levels to be able to go out there and support their team on this, hopefully, Super Bowl run. Trevor says Cardinals fans literally sold their tickets to make their first payment for their season tickets. Isn't that crazy? That is unbelievable. That's a violation, man. I'm sorry. That's a straight violation. You can't do. You're not a true fan. See, that's the problem, right? With some of these stadiums, they don't have true fans. That's not a true fan right there. That price. There's no price point for me. Overall, great stadium. It looks great. Trevor says overall great stadium. Arizona is in my rotation for trips. So Trevor's going all world. See, when you got when you're like me, man, and you got the family, you got the kids and the commitments, you don't get to travel like that. So I lived through you, Trev. When you get to travel like that, that's pretty cool. I like that. But we're gonna get out of here. As always, Trevor, thanks for checking in. Make sure you're checking him out and the boys, the Upper Bowl podcast as well. They do some fantastic things and, they do some great interviews and some great segments. So definitely fans and definitely part of the Heat Ratio Sports family. He was already propping up. Says huge episode this week. He's got on the Upper Bowl podcast. Huge episode this week. That must mean Jigsaw is going to be on the show. Jigsaw has been on the show, so I don't know if it's going to be that big. But nah, I'm just kidding. Go check those boys out. Great stuff over there at Upper Bowl podcast. But as always, make sure you're following at Heat Ratio Sports for all your local and national sports talk. Fourth and Go. Checking out every single week with Mark and Dave. We got, Dan and Nick with the Flyer and Ice podcast back covering all things Philadelphia Flyers and hockey for that matter. We got some quick takes with Dan Green where he breaks down all different kinds of things. We got the fantasy firebox, as always, doing some fantasy talk with me and Pittsburgh John Coker. Got Heat Ratio live on Tuesday nights. Obviously, we'll be live again tonight. Talking all things Philadelphia Phillies, hopefully talking about a Phillies win today in Atlanta. And as always, Win Daily Sports for all your sports betting and fantasy needs. Just throw this out there. Give the Heat Ratio Sports or Win Daily Sports TikTok account a follow. You might see a very interesting face on there. You never know who's going to pop up every day on TikTok when it comes to Win Daily Sports. But like I say, man, as always, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy. And if you want your analytics and you want your SEO approach, make sure SEObrand.com, you're following them today and finding out where you need to start building your traffic. Some people have thoughts, some people have takes, but on this show, only here is where you get the final judgment.